The last year, there's one thing we've got to come to. And we'll get this out of the way. That night, Drew. We were going to talk about this. It's the elephant in the room. The big, tall, near 7 foot bronzed elephant, I suppose. Talk us through that night.
It was a weird night for me. Obviously, it's very, very hard to surprise wrestling fans these days. You know, everything I like is leaked or you know. But it was a massive lead up and a lot of hard work, and I did the match. And folk tend to forget Drew. Like, he's my best mate for a long time. You know, from when I first started training, when he gets signed and he went away, you know, we never lost contact. He lost contact with most folk, but you know, we would speak weekly, or every time he was over, he would let me know and say, like, you know, even if I'm not staying in Glasgow, swing past, we'll catch up. You know, so I mean, when somebody lives in Florida and you live in Glasgow, 15 minutes is better than nothing. Yeah. You know, even if it's just in passing, or you know, how you been or whatever. So in about 8 years, I had seen my best mate 12 times, let's say, you know. So the fact that every time he was back, it felt like it had never been away. We just picked up, and I'm the same as him. Outside wrestling, I very rarely talk about wrestling. You know, I'm busy with wrestling. He's over there living this crazy life, way crazier than mine. Mm-hmm. So when he's back with his mates, the only thing people ever ask him about in his day-to-day life is wrestling. Do you know this guy? Have you wrestled this guy? You know, what's it like backstage? What's he like? What's he like? So, you know, I don't want to ask him stuff like that. You know, how are you? What's been happening? You know, outside wrestling, are you good? You know, a lot of stress. And Drew he was going through a lot of stress. You know, a lot of tragedies happened to him when he was over there. And you know, I always admired him for dealing with it the way he did, because you know, if you, God forbid, lose somebody, you know, close to you, or you know, any of your family, it's hard to deal with, even if you live next door to them. But he was dealing with all this stuff on the other side of the world, plus putting up with the stress of work and not being happy with what he was doing. And you know, it's how he done it without a nervous breakdown was beyond me. I don't know how he done it. So, you know, I'll always respect him for putting up with it and keeping strong for the sake of his family and stuff. So, but when he came back, I remember one time we did it was the big culmination in the Classic Grand, where it was the Gold Label versus ICW. Mm-hmm. Remember that night? Yep. And Drew was there. He had come back and he was backstage, but we had to sneak him in the back and bring him up the backstairs because we couldn't let him be seen. You know, he wasn't allowed to be at shows, so if he got caught, he'd get into trouble and stuff like that. So he was backstage, locked up in this wee room all night. And I remember kind of feeling sorry for him, because I thought, you know, all this guy wants to do is just go to the bar and have a pint. You know, and he can't, because he's not allowed. You know, he's a different country. He works in Florida, he's in Scotland, and he's still being controlled. And went out that night, but every time we were back, we made it work somehow. We'd always get nights out, we'd always manage to have a good laugh, but it was always hiding. We were always hiding under a pub or in a private room somewhere, or, you know, it was always that kind of constant paranoia and having to watch what he was doing. So that night, when I was at ringside and the lights went out, right, you know, Renfrew says, "You have no friends left." Lights went out, came back on, and as soon as he threw that hood off, the place lost its mind. It was amazing. I mean,
who was there that night?
It really was amazing. And if you're there as well, I mean, I really should stop crying in the ABC. You know, it was just amazing, because I was so happy to see him back, genuinely happy to see my mate back. He was standing in an ICW ring. He was on a Scottish show. Folk were going nuts for him, and it was just great because I knew how much I hadn't seen fire in him like that for a long time. You know, he was on TV, he was famous, he had the big fancy job. Who cares? You know, he was standing in a venue, big for us, small for him, everybody going nuts. And he was so nervous, like because he was back, and he cared about the reaction. Mm-hmm. And I knew, you know, that there's no way that he could have prepared himself for what he was going to hear. I knew what was going to happen, and it still got me. And he was there, and it was just that time we locked eyes, and I just thought, oh, dude, welcome back, big guy. I was so happy to see him back, and I was so happy to see folk, you know, appreciate him and welcome him back like that, because I knew it's what he needed. You know, everything that he'd been through and everything else, he was back, and it just gave him that kind of bolt of electricity back. Obviously, you know, that never lasted long, because when he attacked me on the stage and he threw me off the table, and I mind it's it might sound petty, but it really affected me for about 3 weeks after it. And I remember it really kind of sunk me, because I just thought the reaction. I was lying there, and I was genuinely hurt. I mean, I wasn't lying there for the camera. You know,
Yeah.
I've got back problems. I've got sciatic. I've got nerve damage, and my right leg tends to go numb sometimes, and I can't really feel it. So my leg had went numb, and I was struggling to see in my eye. My dad jumped the barrier, and I had to lie there and be like, it's fine, Dad, it's all part of the show, it's just for the cameras, and because there's nothing I can't say to him, I'm hurt. He would freak out. So, but while I'm lying there, people just were just chanting, you know, like he was talking, they were hung off every word. You know, he almost looked like he didn't care. He did this whole, it has to be done, and you'll understand. And it's one of those ones, like, I can't blame folk. Of course they're going to lose their mind when he comes back. It was exciting to see him. You know, I was excited as a wrestling fan who never knew he was going to be there. They went nuts, and they should have, and he deserved it. But, you know, like a wee selfish part of me kind of thought, you know, I thought maybe somebody would be concerned. And then I watched the footage back, and there was nothing. You know, I thought, well, you know, I've hurt myself there. At least, you know, it's a stupid wrestling thing. If you're going to hurt yourself, you want it to be on camera. You know, at least you're doing it for something. I was lying there, and I just kind of felt like, you know, it'd been like kind of swept under the carpet. The famous guy's back. And, you know, it did cause issues with us, and you know, it's people always think it's a wrestling. Nobody believes anything that's happening. It's, you know, it's all scripted. It's all written months in advance, and trust me, it's not always like that. You know, sometimes when you pour your life into something, and you really, you know, you give everything you possibly can and give up everything, and especially that was the kind of, at that point I had been doing nothing but wrestling for a year, and, you know, everything I had done everything I possibly could with ICW. I did the matches with Sabu, and I had amazing matches with Prince Devitt, and that was the big thing. That was our big match, and it was like a Newcastle, yeah, absolutely. And it was a kind of bittersweet. You know, I was happy to see him back, but at the same time, I thought, right, it's not going to be the same anymore. You know, something's changed, and I'm going to have to ride it. And I'm still kind of trying to figure out how to deal with the whole thing.
You're still the face that runs the place, mate.
There we go. Now, we have a special question that's came in. It is not, it's I believe it's just audio. So if you listen carefully, I think you'll recognise the voice. If we can play that now.
4 days till our fate is decided, Lee. Now, I'm not in Glasgow right now because, trust me, if I was, this match would not be happening on Sunday. Instead, I'm going to tell you a story. Do you remember when you moved to Ayr? You might not remember this particular time, but I'll remind you, we sat up one night and we talked all night about professional wrestling. We both realised one thing because we said it at the end. We realised we were going to do something because we both had something the other guys didn't have. Passion. Real, indescribable passion for professional wrestling. Now, I remember that talk well. Now, Lee, you didn't have the chances that I had in America, but you were gifted an opportunity with ICW and you seized it with both hands. The scars on your body, the stories your eyes tell, you did everything it took to put ICW on the map, and that's exactly what you've done. ICW, a place where all that matters is your passion, your ability, and your heart. A place that I call home. No politics. Now, here's the thing, we both have a major problem, Lee. None of us can lose this match. We both believe in our causes. If you lose, your pride is shattered. If I lose, everything I've done the past few months, every match, every statement, promo, all of it, the revolution, a sham. What we've got here is failure to communicate. What we've got here is a civil war, and in a civil war, both sides within the same cause fight because of pride and belief in their cause. Damn fiddle about war. Lee, I'll see you in hell.
Hell, a cell.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean.
Jack Jester, let me ask you one question. In a few days' time, you're going to face Drew Galloway for the ICW heavyweight title in the biggest match in British wrestling history. The world will be watching. I'll ask you the last question and we'll wrap this one up and we'll go and have a drink. Are you ready?
I suppose we'll see, but I have to just say things like that. This is why I get annoyed. This is why I take it personally, because for him to come up or phone in or whatever that happened to be right there, you know, this is my home, the place that I call home. You call it home. This is my home. I live here. I work here. I'm on every single show. So he says that if it doesn't go his way, the last couple of months, or the matches, the promos, screw the last couple of months. Like, I've been here constantly busting my arse for every single show, so I don't care if he's upset. I don't care. You know, he might think it's important and everything else, but the Barrowlands for me, legitimately, and this is serious, the Barrowlands for me has been my ambition. Now, two places that I always wanted to wrestle. The Blackpool Tower Circus, which thankfully I did 5 times. It was my dream. I've done it in the Barrowlands, and this is why it means so much to me, because my grandparents met in the Barrowlands. So without that venue, without that venue, they would never have met, and I wouldn't be here, and my mum wouldn't be here. So, you know, it's the biggest thing and it really is not the biggest match in my life. It's the biggest thing that's happened in my life so far. Absolutely. So, you know, and there's a lot of things, and you know, I'm going to get a wee bit serious here, and this is not a jive. This is real life. You know, Dallas was asking us, you know, what does it mean to you? And it does mean absolutely everything. The Barrowlands on Sunday, it's been the biggest culmination of everything I've ever done. Come that night, everything that I've done in my life and my career, everything that I've sacrificed comes to head, just like it did in the ABC with Mikey Whiplash. And, you know, I was thinking, you know, my grandparents have been, you know, quite ill recently, and you know, I wanted them to be there, but, you know, they're not going to be. So, you know, like, I'm going to dedicate this match on Sunday to my grandparents who met in there, who've always supported me. And, you know, and I'm also, you know, I watched Drew's interview, and this is what I'm talking about. People think wrestling's a work, it's all fake, it's all, you know, but, you know, I want to dedicate this to one other person, and that's Angela Galloway, who's Drew's mum, who, you know, I never forgot, you know, it is going to be 2 years on the 3rd since she passed, tragically, but, you know, she's one of the most special, amazing, strongest women that I've ever met, and, you know, that's why Drew is who he is, you know, because his mum is literally, she had the most, it's really hard to describe a woman like this. She had so many obstacles, so many things that could put her down, and she defied all odds, just like he did. And she succeeded, not in the wrestling business, but she succeeded in life. And, you know, if he thinks that I'm, you know, the match aside, you know, that's the 3 people, and I want to just, like, let everybody know that it's going to be for my grandparents, and it's going to be for Angela Galloway.
Ladies and gentlemen, in 4 days' time, he is one half of the biggest main event in British pro wrestling history, the reigning, defending, Insane Championship Wrestling Heavyweight Champion. Give it up for Jack Jester! Thank you, sir.